You think power means being surrounded by people, advisors, allies, friends, faces smiling, heads nodding, applause when you speak, toasts when you win. You imagine the throne is warm, the crown heavy but shared. You're wrong. Completely wrong. The higher you climb, the lonelier it gets. Not because you reject people, but because you must. If you don't, you won't survive the fall. And everyone falls, except those who build fortresses, not of stone and iron, but of silence, distance, and strategy. That is the true throne. It's what Machiavelli told princes 500 years ago, and what every CEO, politician, general, and ruler still follows today.
Do you want to know why the most powerful people stand alone? Not because they are broken or cold, but because they know the rules. And the first rule, trust, is a luxury you can't afford when survival is at stake. Ask yourself, when was the last time you saw a leader, billionaire or general, laughing freely among equals? Not in staged photos, not at press events. Real laughter, real vulnerability. You haven't, because it doesn't exist at the top. You may call it sad, perhaps it is, but sadness doesn't keep you alive. Strategy does. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to promote kindness. He wrote it as a survival guide, and survival at that level demands isolation, designed, not accidental. Think of it this way. Every person near you is a potential dagger. Smiles don't matter. Loyalty must be proven. Even then, never believe it fully. Loyalty changes with money, threats, or opportunity. Call it cynical. Good. Cynicism is the armor of power. Naivety is the uniform of the doomed. Go back to Florence, 1530. Niccolò Machiavelli, in exile, stripped of power, watched the Medici tighten control of the city he once served. He wasn't writing philosophy or ethics. He was writing a manual, how rulers could avoid ending up in a ditch with their throats cut. And there, in chapter 26, he delivered the line, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Everyone quotes it, but few understand it. It isn't cruelty, it's control. Love is fickle, fear is reliable. Love asks, fear obeys. Love whispers behind your back, fear protects its own. That is the first stone in the fortress. You don't build walls to keep enemies out, you build them to remind friends you are no longer one of them. Those who rise to power know this instinctively. They don't need Machiavelli, they live him. Watch any CEO after mass layoffs, any president after scandal, any general after betrayal. They don't cry, rage, or explain. They remain silent, unmoved. Not from heartlessness, but because pain shown is weakness revealed. And weakness invites attack. You think power is charisma, speeches, handshakes, photo ops? Wrong. Power is restraint. Knowing when to speak and when to vanish. Using silence as your weapon. Allowing others to wonder what you're thinking. Because the moment they believe they know, they begin planning your replacement. Consider Caesar, surrounded in the Senate by allies. Men he had laughed and fought beside. 23 stab wounds later, including one from Brutus, his closest protege. Did Caesar not see it coming? Maybe he did and ignored it. That was the fatal mistake. Believing loyalty is permanent is the first step to ruin. Machiavelli would have warned, never sleep in the same room twice. Never eat from the same plate. Never trust the man who calls you father. Too late. Now look at modern power. Musk, Bezos, Putin, Xi, Biden, Trump. Ideology, country, or industry doesn't matter. The pattern is the same. Isolation, restricted access, layers of gatekeepers. Why? Because every conversation risks exposure. Every friendship becomes a liability. Paranoid, yes, but paranoia is the tax for survival. At the top, lonely, probably, but loneliness is the price of sovereignty. Rule means ruling alone. Want friends? Step down. It's that simple. And here's what no one admits. The loneliness isn't imposed.
it's chosen. Powerful people engineer it. They cut ties before ties cut them. They stop confiding after the first leak. They stop trusting after the first betrayal. They stop sharing dreams after the first time someone weaponizes them. Sad? Perhaps. But ask yourself, would you rather be loved and destroyed or feared and alive? Machiavelli already answered. Take Steve Jobs. Visionary, yes. Admired by millions, trusted by almost no one. He fired friends, humiliated allies, rotated inner circles constantly. Why? Because innovation demands control, and control demands distance. Distance requires sacrifice. Jobs didn't prefer solitude. He chose it. Every time he let someone close, they slowed him, doubted him, or eventually betrayed him. In 1985, his own company forced him out. When he returned, he never let it happen again. Even his family and doctors never knew the full truth of his plans or his illness. Not tragedy, strategy. That was his fortress. Now, what about the cost, emotional toll? Sleepless nights, paranoia, all true. But power doesn't care about happiness. It cares only about control, about effectiveness, about unpredictability. Happiness belongs to those who can clock out at 5 p.m. Power is war. And in war, there is no softness, no openness, no need to be understood. There is only fear, respect, obedience, and solitude. Ironically, the more isolated you become, the more powerful you are. Solitude breeds clarity. Distance sharpens perspective. Silence strengthens control. Without distractions of opinion or emotion, you see the board clearly. You move colder, sharper. You stop caring about popularity and focus on legacy, survival, dominance. That's why kings don't have best friends. Why generals don't share battle plans over dinner. Why billionaires don't post true feelings online. Every word is a weapon, every silence a shield. The truth is, the most powerful aren't alone because they failed at relationships. They're alone because they mastered strategy. They built fortresses, not with stone, but with silence, restraint, and ruthless priorities. Every person you let in becomes a potential exit point for your power, so they don't let anyone fully in, ever. That's not weakness, that is strength, choosing control over comfort, survival over sentiment. Cold, yes, but betrayal is colder. Death, colder still. Look around. How many leaders last? How many CEOs leave on their own terms? Almost none. The survivors learn early, trust less, watch more, build walls, not to keep the world out, but to keep their power in. And Machiavelli didn't just describe this. He prescribed it. He didn't teach cruelty, but survival. Not hatred, but fear. Not loneliness, but untouchability. And the only way to be untouchable is to be unreachable, unreadable, unpredictable, alone. You still think power is about connection, networks, influence. Think again. Power is subtraction, removing risks, eliminating threats, especially from smiling faces. The fortress is not built with bricks, but with silence. That's this, and the choice to stand alone, even while the world applauds. If you're not prepared for this, stay where you are, because at the top, it's colder than expected, emptier, quieter, and that's exactly how it's meant to be. The truth is, loneliness isn't the cost of power. It's the foundation of it. You don't lose people as you rise. You let them go, anchors, liabilities, dressed as loyalty. Every handshake, every favor, every secret shared becomes a thread tying you down. And the higher you climb, the more those threads tighten into ropes. Machiavelli understood this. He saw rulers consumed by the affection of their courts, deceived by applause, convinced that popularity equals security. He watched them fall, bled out on the same marble floors where they had been celebrated the night before. And he wrote, not with pity, but with clarity. Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, covetous. Not some of them, all of them. especially those closest to you, think that sounds harsh. Good. Reality isn't wrapped in kindness. It's wrapped in consequences. And at the top, misplaced trust brings only exile, disgrace, prison, or death. Different centuries, same game. The weapons change. Daggers replaced by emails, rumors, board votes, media attacks. But the outcome stays the same. Those who survive don't play fair, and they don't play together, they play alone. Look at Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen. Surrounded by suitors, advisors, and nobles, all wanting her hand, her favor, her throne, she played them against one another, flirted, promised, never delivered. She understood that marriage meant risk. A husband meant a co-ruler. An heir meant rivals. So she chose solitude, not from coldness, but calculation. She turned isolation into leverage, her unmarried status into political power. While kings fell to wives, sons, or brothers, she ruled 45 years, died alone, but on her own terms, still feared, still untouchable. That wasn't tragedy. That was strategy. And you don't need a crown to follow the same rule. CEOs, generals, founders, even coaches who hold power know it well. Proximity is danger. The moment someone feels entitled to your time, your trust, or your ear, they begin believing they're entitled to your position, and entitlement is the seed of betrayal. Your CFO is loyal until the better offer comes. Your VP won't leak strategy until her pride is hurt. Your best friend won't sell your secrets until the price is right. Machiavelli didn't say people are evil. He said they're self-interested, and self-interest has no loyalty, only calculation. Want proof? Look at Sam Bankman-Fried. Young, charismatic, surrounded by friends, running a billion-dollar empire. Trusted everyone. Open office, open books, open heart. And where is he now? In federal prison. His closest friends testifying against him. His circle turning one by one. Why? Because he believed in openness and trust. Noble, maybe, but naive. Machiavelli would have told him, lock the doors, limit access, assume everyone is lying, especially the ones who call you brother. Too late. Now compare him to Warren Buffett, in his 90s, one of the wealthiest men alive, still respected, still feared. His office, a small room, no entourage, no hovering assistants, no PR team scripting his words. He answers his own phone, reads his own mail, makes his own calls. He plays golf with friends, but never talks deals. He gives interviews, but never reveals strategy. He smiles, but behind that smile is calculation. Buffett didn't succeed by being liked. He succeeded by being unreadable, always alone in the room, even when it's full. That's the fortress, not built with wealth, but with silence, restraint, and discipline. And the true fortress isn't physical, it's psychological. It's the ability to sit in a crowded room and feel nothing, to hear betrayal and reveal nothing, to face threats with stillness. That's real power. Not speeches, not charisma, not volume. Silence, stillness. The unreadable face, that hesitation is your advantage. Uncertainty is your greatest weapon. And solitude is where that weapon is forged. Powerful people feel emotions. They just don't display them. Not because they're robots, but because emotions can be exploited. Tears, anger, joy, love, vulnerability. All cracks in the armor. And at the top, cracks get filled with knives. So they bury emotions behind smiles, handshakes, silence, think it's inhuman. Maybe. But the world of power isn't built for humanity. It's built for control. And control demands distance. Here's the truth most avoid. People who crave connection don't reach the top. Or if they do, they don't stay there. Connection requires compromise, and compromise is the beginning of decline. You start listening too closely to advisors. You try to please shareholders. You worry about public opinion. You value harmony over dominance. And then you're no longer leading, you're managing. And managers get replaced. Leaders, the true ones, replace others. But only if they're willing to stand apart, to make the call no one else will. To be hated, feared, misunderstood, alone. Take Churchill. Celebrated today, but after victory in World War II, he was voted out. Why? Because he was ruthless, unriddable, uncompromising. The people needed him, then discarded him. He expected it. He didn't beg or campaign. He left alone, knowing power is rented, never owned, and rent is paid with solitude, sacrifice, and the willingness to be unloved for as long as you're needed. That's the final layer. The most powerful don't just accept solitude. They embrace being misunderstood. They cultivate mystery, speak in riddles, delay answers, disappear when expected to respond, refuse to explain, because clarity is exposure. The moment people believe they understand you, they believe they can predict you. And once they predict you, they can replace you. So you stay distant, you let them guess. You let them fear the unknown. Mystery builds awe, and awe protects more effectively than love. So, when you see a leader standing alone at the podium, silent after scandal, unreadable after crisis, don't pity them. Don't call them cold. They didn't lose friends. They never had them. They have allies, assets, tools, but never friends, because friends are liabilities. And at the top, liabilities are eliminated. The fortress isn't about keeping the world out. It's about keeping power in. And the walls are made of silence, distance, and the willingness to remain alone, even when the world demands connection, even when your heart longs for it, even when you're tired, scared, human, because power doesn't care if you're human. It only cares if you're in control, and control is a solitary task. So ask yourself, do you want to be loved, or do you want to be powerful? You cannot be both. Not at the top, not if you want to survive. Machiavelli knew this. History confirms it. And those still standing at the summit live it every day, alone, silent, untouchable. That's not a warning. That's an invitation to choose, to understand, to build your own fortress. Not from fear, but from clarity. From the understanding that power never belongs to the likable. It belongs to the unreadable, the distant, the alone. And if you're ready for that, welcome to the real game. The one played in silence. The one won not with friends, but with fortresses.